All right, we're going to go through two examples. The first one that we're going to be looking at is for an equation where we have to create a parallel line, or a line that's parallel to this given equation here. Okay, it has to also pass through that point. So the first thing that we have to make sure is that we get this equation into y equals mx plus b. It's so important when we start it off. So you check to see if it is. If it isn't, you have to solve for it and get it in that form. So I want to get y alone. The first step would be to subtract 6x from both sides. This gets rid of this, and that leaves me with minus 5y equals, well, these are not like terms, so it's negative 6x plus 20. Last thing I need to do is divide by this negative 5, the whole side here, and this goes away. So I get y equals, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to split these up across the addition sign. So this is negative 6 over negative 5, which would just be 6 over 5. The negatives go away, so it's 6 over 5. I'm going to have that x actually drop down. So now it's in, there's my slope is 6 over 5. And then the b term here is 20 divided by negative 5. This is a positive 20. So positive divided by negative is a negative. That's 4. So there's the actual, my actual line itself. This is what this one over here actually be in slope intercept form. Now I want to make my new equation, so I'm going to do that down here. So I'm going to write that in green. So we want new. Now we know for the new equation we want it to be parallel, and I want to put it in y equals mx plus b. And for parallel lines, the slope is the same. And because we know that, that means that I'm going to start it this way. Y equals 6 over 5 x plus b. Now the only thing missing from this is b. Now b is not equal to negative 4 like it was up here, because this is a different line. If I put negative 4, then I've just created the same line, and they would know they wouldn't be parallel because they'd be constantly intersecting. So I need to solve for b. How do we do that? Well, we have our given point here. We're given through that it has to pass through 5, negative 2. So this is my x and this is my y. I'm going to use those and put those in right here. So negative 2 and 5 are going to go into this equation. Let me go back to green here. This is 6/5 times times 5 plus b is equal to negative 2. So when I multiply these here, what's going to happen is this is going to go away actually. This becomes negative 2 equals 6 plus b. The last thing I need to do, subtract the 6. This goes away. I get negative 8 equals b. So my final equation, when I use the slope of 6/5 and this b value of negative 8, is y equals 6/5 x minus 8. Over here, you're going to see I'm going to type that in. My final answer needs to have that y equals. I'm going to do 6 divided by 5 x minus 8. If I submit that, yes, I get it correct. All right. Now the second part of this that we want to look at, we don't want parallel. Let's go to, let's do a perpendicular. So let me slide over and we're going to do another problem. So I'll go right here. All right. So in this problem, zoom in a little bit actually. Let me just start a new page, new whiteboard. Okay. So we want to create a line. What is an equation of the line that passes through the point? This point is negative 6,3 and is perpendicular. So that's going to be a little bit different this time, but it's going to start the same way. We're given that it's 6x minus 5y equals 5. And so what I want to do is I want to get it to be y equals. So I'm going to move the 6x. And this goes away. I get negative 5y equals negative 6x plus 5. And then divide by the negative 5. Kind of similar to that last question as far as the solving aspect of this. This time we have a different value for our b term. So this is the line, it's 6/5 x. So I'm just dividing these and putting the x to the side. the 5 over the negative 5 becomes -1. There's my equation. Now the difference between this one and the last one is that for perpendicular, if I'm creating my new equation, so for the new one, it's y equals mx plus b again. However, for perpendicular, slopes are opposite reciprocals. So I'm going to show what that means. So if my original slope, we usually call that m for mx plus b, is 6/5, then we would say that the perpendicular, I'm going to draw this little symbol. This means, looks like an upside down T. It just means perpendicular. It means it crosses a right angle. Slope would be the opposite reciprocal. So the reciprocal means you flip the fraction. So 5/6. Opposite means you change the sign. So negative right there. So this is my new slope that I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and write that in. Y equals -5/6 x plus b. Just like the last question, even with the parallel, we had -6, 3 for our point. We need to use those points to help us solve this question. So I'm going to put a 3 here. I'm going to put -6 here for x. We're just plugging those in. Everything else goes back in here. And we're going to go ahead and solve it. Fortunately, like last time, these cross out again. But however, the negative is going to stay. It's going to multiply by the 5, resulting in a +5. This gets subtracted. And that's going to give us a b term, or a b value of -2. And we can write our final equation. It's going to be y equals -5/6 x minus 2. So that's our answer for this one. Let's type it in over here. So -5 divided by 6. Enter. Wow. Hold on a second. Let's see what we did wrong here. 6 and 3, 5. What was the original? Oh. One moment. Let's see what we did. Flip the line to 6/5, so I have that. Reciprocal's -5/6. Plug that in. I have exactly what they have. Maybe I just typed it in wrong. Oh, I forgot the y equals. That's why you're missing the equals sign. No biggie. So the work was right. Just forgot the y equals. Don't forget your y equals. This is what your answer should look like, the blue. Keep the y equals in there. Okay.